So as we've gotten more and more Borderlands 4 information, I've had one question, and that's, is Borderlands 4 going to be a live service game? There's actually a handful of reasons why I think this may be the case, and Borderlands 4 will at least be somewhere close to a live service, especially now that we have the pre-order information that includes a bunch of future content. Now, I think the best way to start this is to go back to Borderlands 3, because Borderlands 3 was actually getting pretty close to a live service game. When the game was first released, you could just get the season pass, which would give you the first 4 DLCs, and pretty much everybody thought the game was going to be just very similar to previous Borderlands games, where you would essentially just buy the game and then you would buy DLCs whenever they came out, and that was pretty much it. Sometimes it would release some smaller stuff that was either paid or sometimes some free stuff as well, but Borderlands 3 actually did quite a bit of things differently. It started with those first 4 DLCs, then it added more on later down the road. It also released a ton of free content, including what are essentially Borderlands raids in the Maliwan Takedown and the Guardian Takedown, which I think the Maliwan Takedown is one of the best pieces of content in the entirety of the franchise, and that was a free piece of content. They were also adding all of the different holiday events that were, in my opinion, pretty good, especially for free content. So they were adding a good amount of free stuff. Then they were giving us all the paid DLC stuff. Then later down the road, they did more DLCs. They started to do the vault cards, which are essentially these cards you can progress through that you do need the DLC for, so they're essentially paid. And they were primarily focused on giving you cosmetics. They did have some gear in there to earn as well. Then later down the road, they also started to sell these cosmetic packs or cosmetic bundles, which wasn't like a cosmetic shop from most live service games. It was more like a cosmetic DLC. You paid a certain amount of money and you got a bunch of cosmetics in it. And it wasn't like you were transferring your real life money into an in-game currency to buy like one skin or something that was probably overpriced, but it still was just selling skins for money. So Borderlands 3 was very much getting close to being just a normal live service game. And the real question is Borderlands 4 going to be like that close, or is it just going to be a full live service game at some point? And one of the things Randy Pitchford said at one of the recent events he was at is actually really interesting, in that Gearbox loves making Borderlands and they'll keep making Borderlands as long as possible. And he was essentially saying that if Borderlands 4 is successful, they will keep making Borderlands. He very much made it sound like that if Borderlands 4 is really successful, they will just keep making Borderlands 4 content. And I think that's going past the support that they've had for previous Borderlands games, because pretty much every previous Borderlands game has had a lot of DLC and a ton of additional content added. But it sounded like what he was getting to here was that if Borderlands 4 is successful, they will just keep making content for it, kind of turning it into a full live service game that may be just continuously updated for years and years and years. But we can also take a look at all of the different things you can get with the different pre-order versions of Borderlands 4 right now, which also gives us a bit of a glimpse into what they may be going into later. So we have 3 different versions of Borderlands 4 you can purchase. You have the base game at $69.99. These prices are in USD. You have the deluxe edition at $99.99, and you have the super deluxe edition at $129.99. Now that super deluxe is quite a bit more expensive than a lot of other top tier versions of games, at least the digital versions, even though the base game is still $70 like most other AAA games are. So the real question is, why is that biggest version a bit more expensive than normal games? And I think that comes down to what's actually in it. So let's go through what is in some of these different editions. So obviously every edition is going to give you the game, but then for the pre-order of any of the editions, you'll get the Gilded Glory Pack. And the Gilded Glory Pack is one Vault Hunter skin. That skin is for all of the Vault Hunters, so it seems to be a bit more of a recolor. It also looks like it may be an animated skin, but then there's also a weapon skin, and then there's also an Echo 4 drone skin. So that's just a pre-order bonus for every edition. Then the Deluxe and Super Deluxe will also get the Bounty Pack bundle and the Firehawk's Fury skin. The Firehawk's Fury skin is just a weapon skin, I think specifically for the Firehawk's Fury, probably won't be usable on anything else. But then the Bounty Pack bundle is the first place we get a look at some new content coming. And there's actually going to be a lot of content coming with this. So it's going to be coming with 4 unique areas is these are areas. These aren't like regions or zones, because as we'll go over with the other additional content pack, is that is going to be adding more regions, which seem to be the big zones we get at the launch of the game. So there's 4 different zones at the launch of Borderlands 4, which is pretty much the entirety of the game, which is significantly bigger than any other Borderlands game. So 4 unique areas. These could be massive or just a small mission area, featuring new missions and unique bosses, which is interesting. This may be where they're adding in invincible bosses. I could very much see that being the case. There's 4 vault cards with unique challenges and rewards. These are probably going to be the same as vault cards from Borderlands 3, where you do different challenges or level up the vault cards and you can choose your rewards throughout it, which in Borderlands 3, they had some gear pieces and then a lot of cosmetics to get, and you could just switch to whichever vault card you want to progress through. Kind of like a battle pass, but a different UI and a bit of a different way to progress them. Then you're going to be getting new gear and weapons, new Vault Hunter cosmetics, and 4 new vehicles with new cosmetics. So a lot of that is very interesting. Getting the vault cards, they're going to have a bunch of cosmetics, getting new Vault Hunter cosmetics specifically, and then getting 4 new whole vehicles and new cosmetics for those vehicles. So there's actually quite a lot of cosmetics coming with this bounty pack bundle, but it does also include a bunch of just new actual content as well. But the thing is, this bounty pack bundle isn't the replacement for what would usually be called the season pass like we got in Borderlands 3. That's actually something else we'll go over in a minute, because then you go up to the super deluxe edition and you also get the ornate order pack and the Vault Hunter pack. So the ornate order pack is 4 Vault Hunter skins, 4 Vault Hunter heads, and 4 Vault Hunter bodies. So these are going to be a much more substantial customization for all of the Vault Hunters. They're also kind of built around the order and their colors being like gold, white, and purple. So very ornate colors. But then we got the most interesting part, the Vault Hunter pack. This seems to be the replacement for a season pass. This seems to be the much more substantial paid for content. And we're going to be getting a lot with this. We're getting 2 new playable Vault Hunters. That's already ridiculous, especially with how much stuff every Vault Hunter is going to have in Borderlands 4. All of the cinematics in the game will consist of the Vault Hunter you're playing. That's already pretty big. You're going to have significantly more cosmetics for every Vault Hunter. You're going to have the significantly larger skill trees. So 2 new playable Vault Hunters is a lot of content. You have 2 new story packs. Those seem to be like the normal DLCs we would expect from previous Borderlands games. This features all new stories and side missions. So again, seems to be pointing at that these are just the normal size DLCs we'd get in something like the first year of Borderlands 3. You're getting 2 new map regions. And like we went over, these are regions instead of areas like you get with the other content pack. And while we're not 100% sure if region is just a full new zone, I'm presuming that this is the equivalent of the 4 zones we get at the start of Borderlands 4. So we have 4 of these massive open zones at the launch of Borderlands 4, and then in probably the first year we will be getting 2 new ones that will probably be a similar size to the first 4 zones. So that again is a lot of new content. Then you'll be getting new gear and weapons, new Vault Hunter cosmetics, and new Echo 4 cosmetics. So again, there's a bunch of cosmetics added into this DLC pack as well. But again, there is a ton of content here too. This seems to be the replacement for the season pass. But that's actually not all, because if you remember when we got our first gameplay reveal of Borderlands 4, our first kind of showcase, there was a bunch of different articles released on the game, and one of them from the Epic Game Store gave us more information in an article they released on the game, and we now know this information was actually true, and this information was pretty quickly removed from that article when people started to notice it. And this says the Gearbox has pledged to support Borderlands 4 with both free and paid post-launch content following release, including 2 new playable Vault Hunters and extended story content. So again, we now know that we will be getting 2 new Vault Hunters and extended story content. So this just ended up being true. It was something that wasn't supposed to be there. It was describing some of the stuff we'll be getting the first year of Borderlands 4. But what's interesting is it says both free and paid post-launch content. To my knowledge, they haven't said anything about post-launch free content except in that post, which the other information is true. That seems to be be true as well. So now we're at the point of knowing a ton of additional content through the Bounty Pack bundle and the Vault Hunter pack. Now we know that there will also be a bunch of free content, and just this information alone puts Borderlands 4 pretty close to a live service game. I don't think it's fully there, but it puts it pretty close. And I do think that Borderlands 4 is going to be absurdly successful on launch. So I do think Borderlands 4 will continue to get a lot of content, and I think it will essentially be turned into a live service game. Now that doesn't mean they're going to like add a shop where you turn your real money into in-game currency to buy cosmetics. I don't actually think Borderlands 4 is going to do that. I think if they even go closer to a live service game, I think what they're going to do is they're going to continue to sell these DLC packs. Like the second year, we'll probably get like 2 more content packs like we're getting here. And then I would fully expect at some point that they start selling cosmetic packs specifically. So you go pay like $10 and get a bunch of cosmetics, or you go pay like $20 and get a bunch of cosmetics. I think that's how they're going to do it, which is very similar to Borderlands 3, which I said was close to a live service. I think Borderlands 4 is actually going to have a lot more content, and I think they're going to be more consistent with it than Borderlands 3. First off, Borderlands 4 is just significantly bigger, has a lot more systems, has a lot more things they can build on. They're actually doing new playable Vault Hunters, and we already see that they're giving us a lot more content post-launch, or they have a lot more paid content post-launch than we've ever seen with previous Borderlands games, because Borderlands 3 just had the Season Pass, which is essentially the Vault Hunter pack, but then we're also getting the Bounty Pack bundle, which gives us a ton of additional content as well. And for me personally, this is what I want for a Borderlands game. And Borderlands 4 seems to be the best version of previous Borderlands games. In my opinion, it's looking the best, or at least looking the most interesting and most complex, which is something I really like. And I really have just wanted a Borderlands game to continuously get new content on a consistent basis, much more like a live service game would be, because I think Borderlands games have always been in the ripe position to be a live service game, even if they do their monetization a bit differently, but to consistently add content to where they could be a consistent game in the looter shooter genre. And this is also going to be one of the best times for it. You have some old games like Division 2, Warframe, you have Destiny 2 being the biggest, but Destiny 2 is also at one of the least popular points it's been in probably its entire lifespan. So Borderlands 4 is in the perfect position to launch, be super successful, get really good reviews because the game legitimately just looks good right now, and then just continuously add more and more content. And this doesn't even touch on the fact that I think Borderlands 4 is going to have a very robust endgame on launch. The developers have continuously been teasing the endgame. They have talked about designing a lot of the base systems of Borderlands 4 specifically with endgame in mind. So it sounds like Borderlands 4 is actually going to have a very big endgame, and a lot of the systems are designed for it. We know we have a bunch of endgame specific systems as well, and that just plays really well into a live service game, because as you run a live service game, your core player base gets to the end game, and then that's where they're going to be for pretty much the rest of the life of the game. So you're going to have a robust end game with really good systems built for it to continue adding in new things into that end game to make up a good live service game. So I very much think Borderlands 4 is going to be pretty much as close as you can get to a live service game, but without having the cosmetic cash shop. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.